Welcome to the all-new Betting Weekly Premier League show. You're with myself, Dan Roebuck, alongside me, Nigel Seeley and Jack Wright. I know what you're thinking, all new. It is exactly the same lineup. Our contracts have been extended. No one has been sold to Saudi yet, although that transfer window is still open. So what is new for 24-25? Well, first up, every single EPL game will be covered in the show. We are also introducing a banker bet, a lock, a shoe-in, a 2-unit play, whatever you want to call it. The boys will also be giving you a big price plus money play as the hot dog hits the Premier League show. Shout out to Steve Wiss. And also, we will have a same game parlay from one of our cappers on the feature fixture of the weekend. Nigel, Jack, welcome back. Nigel, fit firing, quiet week so far for you by the looks of things.
Yeah, very quiet, yeah. Loads of new shows, loads of new content, lots going on, and recording a load of shows on the hottest day of the year wasn't really good. I didn't really feel good about that. But the Saudi bid was for Steve Wiss. There was a big money in from Sheikh Maktoum Ahmed, who came in and wanted to make a bid for Steve, but we had to turn it down because I don't think you could handle the 120 degrees heat. That was what we turned it down for. Yorkshireman through and through. I don't think he'll be suited out in Riyadh, but there you go.
You never know. Maybe if global colding comes our way, might be able to go out there. Just on the busyness this week, Nigel. Look, we've introduced the live show. Monday, Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, every single midweek day. I mean, the tips have been unbelievable this week to kick off the programme.
Yeah, it's been good. I long hope that will continue. The first 3 days, I think there's been some amazing tips. I think yesterday the guys had about 7 or 8 tips all across everything. There was like soccer, European soccer, tennis, women's tennis, men's tennis, as well as baseball. We're covering the baseball. You wouldn't believe it. We're covering the baseball as well. And I think we've gone to like 12 winning picks out of 13. So yeah, it's all good. Jack was on the opening show with myself. It's Steve Wiss's and me tomorrow. So hopefully we continue that trend throughout the week. But it's a good new show, good new numbers. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. 4 o'clock Eastern every single day. And interested to know where the money's going. You know, that's a really important thing. The money's going, yeah. And the money moves in the early part of the shows have been excellent, and that's always good to know. And Bet Rivers are letting us know where the big bets are being placed as well. So if you haven't watched it, make sure you do tune in.
Do you know what? As well with that, it's the early money as well. So we're not, you can still be ahead of the curve here. Nigel and the boys are getting that money quite early from Bet Rivers in the States. So obviously more money comes over the day, and a lot of those market moves have gone even shorter. So keep your ear out for those every single week. Just back to the football for this week, Jack. Hello to you. What should bettors be looking for across opening weekend of the Premier League? Any trends, anything that you look out for? We talk about it every year. Do we take pre-seasons friendly seriously? Do we look at the major signings? What have you got for us?
First of all, hello to you both. Great to be back. Hello to everyone watching and listening. And the live shows are phenomenal. So absolutely love being part of that and watching the others as well. And the interaction during it is great. Love to hear from the followers and subscribers. Opening weekend, I think the main points to look out for are our new managers into the league this season. We've got 5 new managers at our clubs. And we've also got a couple of managers who are new to the Premier League, not managing the Premier League before. So I think with the new managers, Leicester, Liverpool, Chelsea, Brighton, West Ham, how do they compare? How are they going to line up? How are they going to compare to the old manager? Is it going to be more defensive, more attacking? Is the formation different? Are players going to be utilised in different areas? So I think that's a key element for it. Obviously, there's new signings coming in as well over the course of the campaign. There's still another couple of weeks for those to come in and bed in as well. So see how they take shape. And say any particular players in different or new positions over the course of the season. So, yeah, plenty to keep an eye on there. Standard trends, of course, we know all the stats as far as home win superiority is concerned, around about 44%. Over goals, we obviously saw that massively last season. So will that trend continue? We're going to have to wait and see. So there's certainly lots to keep an eye on at this exciting part of the season as we go into it.
Just before we go on to the matches, Dan, I just want to give you some stats here. I've actually done some actual work for once. I've actually done 10 years worth of research on opening days of the season. Can you believe this?
We love this.
This will not
new
continue.
Season, new
I
you.
guarantee you. I guarantee it won't continue.
We love this.
But I've gone through the last 10 years, and it's exactly 100 game data. Last 10 years in the Premier League, first day of the season, over 2.5 goals, cashed in 55 matches, under 2.5 goals in 45. So 55% over 2.5, 45 under 2.5. Both teams to score, yes, 49%. 49 games over, 51 no. Both teams to score no. And listen to this one. Home wins on the first day of the season. 37 home wins across 100 matches. Last 10 years of the Premier League. 42 away wins. Away wins is higher than home wins, and 21 draws. So if you work that out obviously there's been heavy favourites on the road, but road wins get more than home wins on opening day of the Premier League season over 100 matches the last 10 years.
That sort of works out with what sort of Jack was saying as well. But I mean, that's a significant percentage upwards in terms of away wins, and home wins is a significant percentage down, because usually you're looking at 42, 43%, whatever it is, home wins, as Jack was pointing out.
You need to hang this
maybe to
in
look
the
out
Louvre.
for.
Look at that.
That's hanging in the Louvre.
Hanging in the Louvre.
Hanging in the Louvre.
Hanging in the Louvre.
It's one and only bit of work I've done for the next.
It's none of these
9
Excel
months.
spreadsheets.
No,
it's none
no,
of this.
no, none of that.
It's hard graft. No. It's 2B pencil.
Benson and Edges from Mike Bassett. That is.
Scribble it on the packet. Scribble it on the packet. I tell you what, plug it into your model, see what happens.
We have got 6 plays. We've got 3 plays each from the boys, as I've just been explaining, as sort of per usual, but slightly different in terms of what they're looking at. And we've got same game parlay as well. And we've decided to sort of keep the selections apart. So both Nigel and Jack send me their tips separately. We used to all put them in a WhatsApp group last year, but that's not going to be the case. But would you believe it that the picks are all in the same games?
Unbelievable.
Nigel texted me this morning when I sent him the morning. I was like, what on earth is happening
What
here?
are the odds of that? That is absolutely unbelievable. It's 10 matches and 3 picks each, and all 3 the same match. It's
Not the same picks, but it's the same. So look, we're going to talk about those 3 games first, and then we will rattle through the rest of the games. Plus, we'll take a little bit more of a look on the Monday night game. So let's start, shall we? Arsenal versus Wolves, 10 a.m. Eastern on Saturday, 3 p.m. local here. Arsenal heavy favourites, shortest price favourites over the course of the weekend card. Nigel, I mean, Arsenal, I can't remember when they were this short. It must be 20 years ago. It's got to be right bang in the Wenger era, and maybe when they won the Invincibles, their last title in 03-04. I mean, they're plus 180 at the minute. I mean, should they be favourites? A City gettable this season? Just very briefly before we get into your 2 plays.
I think City are gettable. I think they're a year older. The City players played a lot of football. De Bruyne has been injured for a long period of time. Haaland takes a little bit of time to come back to peak fitness. And without Alvarez, there's no cover for him. So I do think Man City are vulnerable. The main reason they're vulnerable is this points deduction is hanging over their neck. I think that's absolutely crucial. And I think that's been factored into the Arsenal price and the Manchester City price. If you look at the odds, everyone's expecting Man City to get points deductions because Arsenal wouldn't be this price and Manchester City wouldn't be their price if that wasn't in it. According to the sources that we have, we think there may be some points deduction from Manchester City. Whether it affects them this season or not, I don't know. And a lot of people are thinking that Man City will go all out for win the Europa League, Champions League, because if they're in the Champions League and they get the points deduction, don't finish the top 4, they've got Champions League football next season. So I can understand why Arsenal there. I think Arsenal, even if Man City don't have a points deduction, this is their best chance for, since Arteta's been involved. They've got better and better and better. The signings are there. Everything is there apart from a goal scorer. I think if they get a goal scorer, then they should be favourites.
But their defence has arguably got better. It was the best last season anyway with the arrival of Calafiori. And that ties into your play, Nigel, because we've got to get a bit creative if we're playing Arsenal, because they are, as we say, shortest price favourites on the weekend slate. So how do we get with them? And what's your 2-unit, your banker play?
Yeah, this is my banker play. Arsenal obviously minus 560. I think they'll be the cornerstone of every parlay on the opening week of the season. But be very, very careful first weeks of the season, because last week in the English lower leagues, every anti-post favourite to win the league failed to win. Birmingham, Leeds and MK Dons. So it's a very, very difficult time of the season to bet heavily in parlays and heavy minus money favourites. But I do think Arsenal will win this match. I think the Calafiori coming in shores up the best defence in the division. Obviously, Raya has now put pen to paper on a permanent move, which obviously puts the end to this Raya-Ramsdale debate. He is Arsenal's number 1. I think that gives them either more strength at the back. The bet I like here is Arsenal to win to 0. Now, obviously, it was a very simple process for me many years ago with Bet Rivers. You used to click on a button that said Arsenal to win to 0 and place your wager. Now you've got to be a little bit a bit expansive in your betting, which is not like me. I'm old school. You've got to press Arsenal to win and Wolves under a half goal. So essentially, it's a same game parlay, and it comes out at minus 130. If you look at Arsenal last season, no team had more wins to 0 than them. 17 wins to 0. 10 of those wins to 0 came at home. In 4 of their last six matches against Wolves, they've won to 0. Wolves have let Neto go, which is a big disaster for them from an offensive point of view. Very, very creative player for them, most influential player last season. And their captain, Kilman, has obviously gone to West Ham. They have got brought anybody in of any real note. The manager, Gary O'Neill's, complained at the end of last season they had no money. And I think he's going to come to the end of his tether. He's a highly rated coach. And I think Wolves are a team that could struggle, especially in the early part of the season. And I think Arsenal will capitalise on that. I saw 20-1 for O'Neill on the sack race, the first manager to leave his job. I think he could sulk his way out of Molineux. But I do think this is the best way to go here. The best defence has got even stronger. The team they're playing, they've lost their best attacking player or their best creative player. Their best defender has gone as well. So that means we're more leaky at the defence. I think make it take a bit of time. We know Wolves are always very good for a half-time draw, and Arsenal take a time to break teams down. But eventually they will do. And Arsenal to win 2-0 is my first banker of the new season at -130 with Bet Rivers.
Not a banker for Jack in this game, but we have got a hot dog. Jack.
Couldn't wait to get stuck into the hot dog, could I? So here we go, Arsenal. Yeah, I must admit, the win 2-0, or the both teams to score no, and Arsenal win under 0.5 Wolves goals was on my shortlist as well. But I used this game for the hot dog pick because I do fancy Arsenal to win it for all the reasons Nigel said. I do fancy a few goals. So I've gone with the goal scorer option, and I was tempted to go with Gabriel, given Arsenal's strength at set pieces. Him and Saliba both scored in that pre-season friendly. But Wolves aren't the worst at defending set pieces, so I've opted out of that and gone for a guy instead that loves playing against them. I've gone for Martin Odegaard to score at any time, and that is +210 with Bet Rivers. So yeah, my hot dog pick there. He scored more goals against Wolves than any other Premier League side. He's had 6 appearances and he scored 4 goals in that, and he scored in 3 of his last 4 appearances against Wolves as well. So expect Arsenal to have plenty of the ball, expect them to put out a little bit of a statement early doors. Do expect them to score a few goals. They probably will be shared around. As Nigel says, they've not got a Haaland. They haven't got that striker that you expect to probably score 2 or 3 goals. They can share them around and look for Odegaard to get involved in that for my hot dog pick.
Wouldn't it be great if he had Gabriel? Dreams could have come true on the hot dog in week 1. It'd been lovely.
It'd have been sunshine through the window, wouldn't it?
Yeah, great.
Also 10 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Saturday for us in the UK. Newcastle against Southampton. We've got Jack's 2-unit play here. The banker. Newcastle are short here, -286. Saints +650. Over and underline is 3.5 as it is for a lot of the games this weekend. You are siding with Newcastle here, Jack. How are we playing the Geordies?
Yeah, so the banker for me is Newcastle, and again, we can't play them. We have to be a little bit creative. We're going on the Asian handicap this time, -1.5, so they need to win by 2 or more goals. Keeping it simple, there's no split measures here at all. It's simply a win by 2 or more goals, and this bet cashes, and I fully expect it to. This is a little bit of a perfect storm for me. Newcastle are a side that I fancy to get into the top 4 this season, or certainly do very, very well. No European football for them this season like they had last season, which kind of disrupted them a little bit, distracted them a little bit. They also had a horrific injury crisis last season, which kind of ended their hopes after a really strong start. Isaac, we've talked about, is a player that we both very much like. No European football for him, and he is a focal point striker. So that's a great point for them here. And they're up against the Southampton side that I fancy to get relegated. They did bounce straight back from getting relegated 2 seasons ago. They got 25 points that season, finished rock bottom. They were woeful. And I wonder, when you look at the squads and compare them, how much stronger they are this time round than they were then. They've got a new manager to the league in Russell Martin. He's a very stubborn manager. He's wedded to a possession-based philosophy. They will take risks at the back. I think this is very comparable to Vincent Kompany coming in with Burnley. I think we should see a similar style where they'll persist and they'll keep trying to play it that way. And with the better sides, they'll get picked off. Newcastle, as far as they're concerned, are just exceptional at home. They're the 4th best home record in the Premier League last season. They won 8 of their opening 9 fixtures, and they started last season with a 5-1 thrashing of Aston Villa, who of course we know finished 4th in the end. Shows you how strong that was. So more of the same there. I'm expecting a really strong Newcastle start and a win by at least 2 goals.
Saints are +125 to go down, Jack. Would you play that?
I have played it. Yeah, I like them to go down for the reasons I talked about there, as far as Russell Martin and that style of play being similar to Vincent Kompany. They came up via the playoffs last season. I don't see how they're expected to do better than both Leicester. I get that because of the points deduction, or Ipswich, given that I can't see how they've changed. They've not really recruited that strongly in this window. They lost Che Adams, who's got some Premier League experience. Adam Armstrong's their main striker, hasn't cut it in the Premier League to date. No reason why that should change now.
Seems a strange one, doesn't it, that, Nigel? Just looking at the prices on the Bet Rivers website. Minus 137 Ipswich to go down, plus 125 Saints, but Ipswich was second. Saints playoff winners. I'd have them the other way round. Yes,
yeah,
no?
I think there's much between the two of them. I actually bet Ipswich to finish bottom, but I think in the relegation battle you've got this points deduction that Leicester, which is sort of concerned you. One of the reasons why I think this season's very hard to bet anti-post bets and future bets. I'm pretty much in agreement with Jack, but coming at a different angle again. I mean, I still can't get my head around the three of us having the same bet here. But I mean, Newcastle only lost three matches last season at home, and they lost to Liverpool, Manchester City. Do you know the other team they lost to?
It wasn't Luton, was it?
No, it was a 4-4 draw, that one. They lost to Nottingham Forest, which was unheard of. So they never get beat by teams at the bottom of the table. They won 6, drew 3, and lost 1 against bottom half sides, and that defeat was Nottingham Forest. So I pretty much agree with Jack. I was going to put in Newcastle to score more than 1.5 goals. Or if you took your head down, what price would you think Newcastle score over 1.5 goals? So Newcastle score 2 goals or more.
Even money?
Minus 360.
What?
I couldn't believe it. I must have been saying it wrong now. I might have read that wrong because I looked at minus 1.5 over 1.5 goals, and I thought this could be I thought it might be my outside bets, but it was when I looked at it yesterday. It may have been a misprint, or I might have read it wrong. But I'm sure it's minus 360. Anyway, I want to get with Newcastle. I want to get with goals. Jack sort of summed up what he likes there, and I couldn't disagree with anything like that. Newcastle ended the season last year 8 matches unbeaten at St James's Park, scored 24 goals. In that, over 1.5 goals they scored in every single match. They've now got Pope back as well, which makes them, I think, a little bit stronger as well. But for me, it's Isaac, the striker. I mean, it takes a bit of time to get used to the Premier League. And last year he come in and it was like he's a veteran. He scored 9 goals in his last 10 Premier League matches. In his last 8 starts at St James's Park, Isaac scored 10 goals in his last 8 starts. This is a game where everyone expects Newcastle to score at least 2. If that is right, minus 360. I don't know if you can look at it, but if that is,
it is right. I've just checked it.
Minus
right.
360 over 1.5.
Even money with me.
Well,
5 only.
So if we're saying it's minus 360 that Newcastle are going to score 2 goals, Jack's saying it's a bet is minus 1.5. Well, the guy who scored 10 goals in their last 8 matches at St James's Park, Isaac, is available at minus 132 to score any time. I mean, to me, I think that's an absolute cracking bet, and I've bet him to beat the top goal scorer in the Premier League. Bet Rivers are offering a quarter the odds to first 4, with no European football, pretty much certain to play every week, barring injury. I think I can't see him not being in the top 4. I really can't. I think if he's fit, I think he places.
Was he placed last year?
Yeah. He had a chance of winning it. And he's going to be better this season. So minus 132. I mean, you're minus 360 Newcastle score over 1.5 goals. So 2 goals or more, minus 360. The top goal scorer last season. The second favourite to score in the Premier League, minus 122. If this was Haaland in the first match of the season against Southampton at home at Etihad, it'd be minus 375.
The over and underline for Isak is 18.5. You'd be a buyer at 18.5, minus 118 either side.
I'd just rather 100%. Bet him to win. I'd rather bet him to win the match because Haaland is his main threat, and he probably won't play every game in terms of the resting him for big matches, whereas Isak will play every game.
Let's get to Brentford Crystal Palace again. We've got plays from both of our cappers this week. We've got Nigel's hot dog. We've got Jack's 1 unit play. We'll go to Jack first. Brentford are plus 143 here. Palace plus 180. Finish the season really strongly. They've lost Elise. They haven't lost anyone else yet, but they might do, but maybe not for this weekend. 9 a.m. Sunday, this one. Jack, what you got for us?
Yeah, I'm going for over 2.5 goals at minus 124. You sold this to me, Dan. I think you were at a Brentford game recently, weren't you? And just said you've got to get on goals.
I was at the friendly last Friday. 4-4.
4-4. Not the only one.
Wolfsburg.
Yeah, not the only one this season. Not the only one this season where there's goals galore in their games. You can't read too much into friendlies, but you certainly get an idea of shape and style of play, don't you? Obviously, players come and go, they rotate, they get fitness in the legs, but you get the idea how teams are going to set up. I looked at the Brentford pre-season games. Both teams to score landed in all 5 of them. Over 2.5 goals was 3 of 5. They scored 12. They conceded 11, so 23 goals in total. that 4-4 draw you mentioned, there was also a 5-2 win for them as well. Looked at Crystal Palace, who we liked under Glasner last season. Have they continued where they left off? A very strong pre-season for them. Bearing in mind, yes, they lost to Lise. And also, of course, Mateta has been on international duty at the Olympics. So they've still done well of that. Both teams have scored in all 5 of their pre-season friendlies as well. Over 2.5 goals in 3 out of 5. 21 goals in total. 14 scored, 7 conceded. They won 3-1 twice and also 6-3. So absolute goals galore. And basically looking at the stats from last season, Brentford at home, there was average of 3.32 goals per game. 13 of their 19 went over 2.5 goals. That was the 5th highest in the entire league. Not much has changed at Brentford. Still got Ivan Toney. Will he have a point to prove to try and get a move in the last 2 weeks of the window? You assume so. If not, he's going to have to get his head down and perform well for Brentford again. So, I say, other than that, they're built around it. Carvalho's come in, is pretty decent. Crystal Palace under Glasner, we saw they were entertaining. They changed the style from under Hodgson. 29 goals scored, 14 conceded in his 13 games in charge. That averages 3.31 per game, and 7 of 13 went over. So, generally speaking, I think in the Premier League, we saw it last season. If you can see a game that is 2.5, the line has said at 2.5, is a little bit of a blind play at the moment, especially when you've got two sides that you know can attack and can score goals as well as concede them as well. So, and I think that fits the case for this one. So, yeah, my 1 unit play over 2.5 goals.
Got Nigel's hot dog here, and it is a draw here, Nigel. And I suspect because we've lifted the floor for the hot dog, haven't we, this season? I mean, last season on the European show, it was plus 180. You sort of insisted on 2-1 or bigger here. So I think we might get a few draws. Have you got a strategy for the hot dog, Nigel, do you think?
No,
or just
really.
week to week?
I think what I do with the hot dog mostly will be a lot of anytime goal scorers, players who I think are a little bit under the radar, or solid sort of people who are going to like Manchester City and expect them to score, and they're a striker for that side. I'd probably go for something like that. But I think there will be a couple of draws, and I think a lot of these matches on this opening day of the fixture, I do think have got draw potential, even though the stats are only 21% of draws in 100 matches, and I think this one really has got a potential to be a draw. I don't think there's hardly anything between these two sides, especially Brentford give slight advantage with the home with the home advantage here. But Crystal Palace, I know last season they're the one team that didn't want the season to end. I mean, now Elise is it has gone. That's going to take that's a big loss for them, a huge loss for him. And I don't know whether Gay has come back now. I mean, I saw an interview of him. He was very calm. He was very, very composed. He didn't seem to get his head. But now he's like, he's going to be England's Player of the Year. He's England's star man from the World Cup. He's subject of a 50 million bid from Newcastle. Whether his head's going to be turned a little bit, and he's not at the races. And I've got a slight feeling that Glasner's done really well at the end of last season. But to judge him as a manager, we're going to see how good he is in the first 8 weeks of this season and what he does in the transfer window. Brentford have managed to keep Toney, which for how long? I mean, Saudi are after him. I mean, I know they've offered to take him, but the deal is take Steve with him and then he'll have him. But I think the draw here is value. I mean, I think I always like going for draws when there's two sides that you can't really split, and on this occasion can't really split. And also the stats back it up. Since Brentford have returned in the Premier League, these two sides have played 6 times, and in 5 of those matches there's been a draw. The opening season when they returned in 2021-22, the 2 matches ended 0-0. In 2022-23, both matches ended 1-1. And last season, it was 1-1 and a 3-1 win for Crystal Palace. In every single match that has been played since they returned at Brentford against Crystal Palace, they've drawn every game. So 5 draws from 6 matches in the Premier League. Opening day of the season. 2 teams that both sets of fans will be thinking, Brentford fans will be thinking, this is our toughest year since we've been back. Palace fans thinking, let's hope we can kick on where we left off last season. I think if they shook their hand now, took a point, they'd probably take it. And I think played along the banks of the River Thames, nice bit of sunshine. I think this could fizzle out to a bit of a entertaining draw. So I'm going to go for the draw here as my, what do they call it? Hot dog, plus 245. Hot dog.
We're calling it a hot dog.
Yeah. 245 the draw. 5 from 6. Premier League, plus 245.
Yeah, I like the numbers. They were both profitable home and away, respectively, last season. Let's get to the same game parlay each week. One of our handicappers will take on the same game parlay challenge. I asked Nigel who was going to do it this week. He said Jack in the blink of an eye, about 4 seconds. Yep. Just you can have that one. obviously, the feature game this weekend has to be Chelsea versus Manchester City. This is Sunday, of course. It's the main game in the UK. Chelsea are plus 320. City are minus money favourites here. They won the Community Shield last week, of course. Jack, talk us through your same game parlay. We'll get Nigel's thoughts on the way that Jack has gone about this, and then we might have a quick chat about what's the best strategy for these same game parlays, because they are quite new, but they are getting popular, and it's not just recreational players. You get some serious bettors getting involved as well. Jack, what do you like?
Yeah, I'm keeping it pretty simple. Just 2 legs to the same game parlay. I've gone for both teams to score, yes, and I've gone for over 4.5 Manchester City corners. Comes in at plus 112. For that, anyone who wants a little bit higher, I was tempted to throw in Haaland to score, because I noticed he's like minus 102, which is quite strong for him, to be fair. But no, I've kept it simple there. Plus 112, my 2-leg same game parlay. So I just feel there's a lot of uncertainty about Man City at the moment. You can certainly say the same thing about Chelsea. But with Manchester City, I just think Pep's obviously talking up the fact they're a little bit undercooked. We've kind of seen signs of that. Injury to Oscar Bob over the last 24 hours, broken leg. So he would look like he was due to start and make a little bit of an impact. He was there effectively as an understudy to Phil Foden. So again, they're going to have to make a little change to their tactics and their planning for that one. That throws things out a little bit. Nigel touched on at the top. I think they're there for the taking a little bit this season, especially at the start of the season, as we've seen before. Usually, second half of the season, they're untouchable. At the start, they can be a little bit kind of inconsistent as far as they're concerned. We saw it with Chelsea last season. They seem to raise their game against the bigger sides. We've got a new manager in Enzo Maresca this time round. I think we reset again, so we don't know. Again, if Chelsea are playing against a Bournemouth, for example, I'll probably be going Bournemouth side of it. But I just feel that their players can seem to get themselves up for these bigger games. So both teams to score landed in both the fixtures in the league last season. It was 1-1 at the Etihad, an incredible 4-4 draw here last time round. They also met in pre-season, and that was 4-2 to Manchester City. So all the signs point towards goals at both ends, and I think that's the case because I'm not too sure on either of the defences. Landed in 25 of 38 and 23 of 38, so pretty standard, decent stats across the board last season for those two. And there was corners. I'm going with that with Manchester City. They do win a lot of corners. 131 away from home last season was the highest of any side in the Premier League. They averaged 6.89, so it's well over what we need from them to get here. Overall, they averaged 7.33, so really strong on that respect, as you'd expect from them to have plenty of the ball and in attacking areas. And I think Chelsea will make this difficult for them. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk for Manchester City to go and steamroll this one. So they will have to be pressing the game for large parts, I believe. They got 5 or more corners in 12 of their 19 away games last season, with 63%. Only Arsenal had a higher percentage than that, and 27 of 38 overall. So it's a fairly low line for them, one you'd expect them to hit. And I think they both seems to score. Looks a good play in that bit, given the past record. Last time these two sides met, City won 12 corners. So there is lots to like about that one as far as that's concerned, and how I see this game panning out. So yeah, both seem to score, and over 4.5 City corners, plus 112.
Nigel, your thoughts on Jack's same game parlay? Would you have played the same sort of thing? Would you look at corners? I mean, both teams to score, yes. To me, feels like a safe play at the moment with City. Not quite sure about them defensively. What are your thoughts on it? Would you add something? Would you go a bit bigger?
I've got enough going on with tennis, live shows, dojos. I've got enough. I can't be looking at corners. I leave that to Jack. I disagree with Jack. I've got enough going on with. I've got enough on my plate.
What's your strategy for next week then, Nigel? Well, how many elements are you going to throw in?
We'll talk about it in the week. I think my son Harry might have a job for the season. I mean, that's right. Just my thing in this game. I think I want to fade Man City. I really do. I want to fade Man City minus 132. I think that Alvarez going is a big blow from Haaland. To me, I was at the Charity Shield, the Community Shield last weekend. He didn't look fit to me. He looked overweight. He didn't do anything, absolutely anything. I know it's Haaland, but
crikey, if he's overweight, I'm in trouble.
Yeah,
anyway.
But he was carrying some. I'm telling you, he wasn't Haaland that we know prolific, and it takes him time. Summer break, no World Cup, sitting on the beach eating hot dogs. So I think City are a little bit of a fade here. If I was going to have a bet, if I was going to put something in, I'll go. On my same game parlays, I might go massive. I won't be doing 2. I'll be doing like 3 or 4 to try and hit the big winner, get like a 51. But I think Nkunku's going to have a good big season. I think he's going to score a few goals here. And I'd probably put him in to do a little bit damage here. But on the goals front, especially if you expect goals, I think Nkunku to score at any time. I bet him last year to be the top goal scorer in the Premier League. 2 hours later, he was out for the season. So I didn't do very well there. But I got a feeling City might get turned over here on the opening day.
Chelsea or tie, certainly plus 102 might make a bit of appeal.
Yeah,
double chance.
or plus 3/4 a goal on the Asian. That's something like that.
Chelsea are plus 150, top 4. City plus 120 title. Haaland minus 155, top goal scorer. Could this be the year? You shaking your head, Nigel?
The thing is with him, like Man City, they only get going 14 games, and he goes on a run and scores 17 games when he's fit. But at the moment, I just think they don't start well, Man City. In all seasons. I mean, last season they didn't start well. The season before they didn't really start well. But, they end so great. I think if you're going to get them turned over, Chelsea home, first day of the season, packed Stamford Bridge, new manager, 2 strikers coming back, new signings, with a City side that are obviously going to be concerned about this point deduction. I think plus 325, I think I'd be taking Chelsea. I'd definitely be fading Man City minus 132.
Yeah. Any futures with these two teams for you, Jack? Could you see Chelsea getting top 4?
No, I don't like Chelsea for top 4. I think that we're going to see what we saw from them last season, really. I would have been very pro-Chelsea if Pochettino had still been in charge. They were on my radar at the end of last season, thinking they've now kind of found out what they need to be doing and they're making progress, and they ripped it all up and started again. Jury's out on Maresca, about 60 games in charge as a manager. He's going to try and play a really intricate, complex style of play with Chelsea, and we all know they've got like 45 players in that first team squad. He's got to try and work out his best 11. That took Pochettino probably about 3/4 of a season. I can't see anything different from him. So, yeah, I'd expect to struggle at the start. Could beat anyone on the day. As I said, the bigger games they'll tend to get up for and get something from. Could get turned over by anyone on their day. And I say start low and then probably work their way through it. So that's how I see them. But I think there's better, more solid prospects to burst into that top 4, Newcastle, Tottenham, even Villa again, than Chelsea.
We have got 10 minutes to wrap up the rest of the league for you. Just before we do that, Nigel, do we see more goals? I mean, has the market caught up with the overs? Nearly every game's over 3.5. I mean, you can't just keep betting these things when they happen because the market catches up. Do you expect overs players to be, sort of reined in a little bit?
I think it will probably come back to a little bit normal. I think last season was an exceptionally high one. I think this season will come down. I think we'll see tighter games with less time added on. And we saw it in the European Championships. European Championships, the first 5 games, there was 4 games, everyone was on overs, and all of a sudden it changed. But they can't continue this trend of last year. Can't.
I mean, Jack, I've read that semi-automated offside decisions for VAR is going to come in, but not until after the first international. But I mean, that's going to make a difference. Shorter games, even if they knock off a couple of minutes, that was such a big factor last year, wasn't it?
It was massive last year. We were seeing games with like 9-10 minutes, weren't we, added on at the back end of the second half alone, and 4 and 5s in the first half. So, yeah, the more game time, especially towards the end when people are tired, and more time to push for it, absolutely. Yeah, but at the moment, obviously, that's not in, so we'll be interested to see how it goes. Yet. Sun taking over.
But it's coming. It's coming. Right, let's get some quick fire thoughts on the remainder of the games. Friday night, 3 p.m. Eastern, United versus Fulham. Nigel, got any leans on this one? Marco Silva's got a great record, match week 1, wherever he's managed across Europe. What's the lean for United?
Yeah, I mean, last 7 matches in this fixture, Man United have failed to cover the 1-goal handicap. Fulham have covered the spread in 7 years at Old Trafford. They won it last year 2-1. Very impressed with Smith Rowe at Fulham. I think a great signing for him. Manchester United, the lowest scorers in the top half of the Premier League last season, and I know they've brought a striker in, but I'm not convinced by him. But they've seemed to concentrate on their defence, and I thought the defence was pretty good. Rashford looked awful in the Charity Shield, doesn't look interested at all. Lean for me would be Fulham +1. I think this will be tough.
Jack?
I was very pro Emile Smith-Rowe. I think he could be the signing of the season if he stays fit because of the price, and they'll more than double that if he continues as we saw him back in the day at Arsenal. So a brilliant signing. I think João Palhinha obviously is a massive miss for them. They need to replace him. They haven't done yet. Same with Man United in that midfield. So I think this could be an end-to-ender. I think Fulham could cause a surprise here, but I've gone with over 3.5 goals in this one.
+480 Smith Rowe to score at any time.
Right. Is he? Because he weren't listed when I looked yesterday, unfortunately. But I don't know if he's there for shot on target as well.
I'd be more on the unders than I'd be more on the unders here than the overs, because I think the opening day of the season, the expectation at Old Trafford will be so high. I think opening day of the season, everyone will be tight. First match in front of the cameras. I think there is a big trend for unders in the first game of Premier League matches each season. The very first game, so Friday night, expecting is on it. I'd be more unders, but I think Fulham +1 would be my lean. These are leans, obviously. These are leans. These are.
Yeah. Are United still a bit of a basket case?
Yeah.
Do you think?
They are.
Are we going to get the same as we got last year?
I've noticed in pre-season they've restricted shots, but whether that will translate into the normal case, I think their main issue is that they get overrun in midfield. They haven't got the energy and they ain't got the legs in midfield. That hasn't changed. They brought in defenders. A couple have been injured. They've got a gel. We could see issues there. Nigel's already touched on it as far as in forward areas. They've brought in Xerxes, who is effectively another Højlund that is young, raw, hasn't got lots of experience. He's going to take time to bed in. So, yeah, I think they are. Yeah, generally speaking, I think we're going to get the same that we saw last year. Same manager, same issues, same result.
Ipswich, Liverpool, Jack, what you got?
I've gone for a lean here on +1.5 Ipswich on the Asian handicap. It's -120 as a lean. The best time for Ipswich at the start of the season. Crowd's going to be pumping. It's an early kickoff on the Saturday against Liverpool, who traditionally don't tend to like that. That was certainly under Jurgen Klopp. We don't know what we're going to get. Arne Slot with Liverpool. On paper, it looks like a bit of a seamless transition, but we'll have to see on grass. No signings so far this summer. They've been a bit disappointed in the transfer market. So rumours about Diaz leaving as well. So there's enough uncertainty there. And I think the one time you don't want to go to a newly promoted side, first game of the season, at home, early kick-off. And I think, Ipswich can cause a few problems. And +1.5, that means for that not to win, they've got to lose by 2 or more goals.
Are you listening, Norwich fans? Jacky's tipping Ipswich. Nigel.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough season for Liverpool. They'll be my fade of all the top 4. I think, replacing Jurgen Klopp is going to be an absolute monumental. You took a one manager in the whole Premier League that you've got to replace, and Jurgen Klopp would not be the one you want to do it. I mean, he was Mr. Liverpool. We saw with Manchester United when it took them ages to get the right man after Sir Alex Ferguson departed. They still haven't found him. And it could be the same thing here again for Liverpool. I really do worry for them. If they don't start well, I think a lot of players might want to leave. Salah's always linked with the moves to Saudi. Van Dijk has threatened with the move as well. I think the wheels could come off here for Liverpool this season if they don't get off well. But one player I think will have a really good season for Liverpool, and I was really impressed with him at the back end of the campaign. And I thought if he played as well as he did at the end, at the beginning, he could have broke into the England squad. And I think it's going to be a big season for Harvey Elliott. He was their best player in pre-season. I thought he was excellent last season. He's going to play in more of an advanced role. He's going to play a lot more minutes, and he's +360 to score any time in this match. And Harvey Elliott would be a lean for me to score any time.
Yeah, that is a lovely bet. Saw him against Arsenal. He was fantastic. Forest, Bournemouth, Nigel, what you got for us?
I think this is a difference of opinion. I think it's the first time we've got a difference of opinion here. I mean, Nottingham Forest are renowned for being so good at home, but last season at the end of the campaign they were rubbish. They only won one of their last 7 matches. They avoided relegation right by the skin of their teeth. Obviously, Bournemouth have got rid of Solanke, which is a big blow for them. They've got to replace 20+ goals a season, which is going to be very, very hard to do. Last season, Bournemouth won this fixture 3-2, or won this match 3-2, and Solanke scored a hat-trick. He's not here this time around, so it's going to be difficult for them. But Bournemouth have been a bogey team against Nottingham Forest. The last 8 matches, Forest haven't beaten Bournemouth in the Premier League. They've never beaten them in 8. And I think that will continue. I think it's going to be a tough season for Forest. I'm going to go for Bournemouth on the draw no bet here at +105.
But a line's drawn, Jack.
All runs come to an end, and this is where this one ends for Bournemouth. Forest have taken on the money line here at +143. I just think plus money, a side that are traditionally decent at home, done quite well under Nuno. Pre-season's been all right. They've got some good attacking players, and I think the main reason that I'm fading Bournemouth here is the Solanke sale. At the minute, only Jebison, their only recognised striker. They need to get busy in the transfer market. And also, of course, they did start horrendously last season. So, for me, I'm just going to take a little punt on Forest to win this one.
Everton, Brighton. This is another 10 a.m. Saturday game. Jack, what you got here? You got a money line again here. This is a big price.
Yeah, again, I think there's value in Everton at +155. Solid, know what they're getting with them. Sean Dyche, good manager, great at home. Last season at Goodison Park, so I think there's going to be a lot of emotion. There's going to be a lot of passion there, a lot of incentive for Everton to do particularly well in that final season at a really, really old stadium. Against Brighton, at a complete opposite. They've got a 31-year-old manager in, so it'll be interesting to see how he adapts to life in the Premier League. But I'm going with a tried and tested over the new, and I'm just taking a lean. I think it'll take a little while for Brighton to click and settle in, Everton for me on the money line plus 155.
I've backed Everton on the handicap in the Premier League. Can't remember what points I got. How do you think they'll do, Nigel, Everton this season? I mean, they might even have a points deduction, might they?
Well, they've got to stay up. That's the main thing. They've got to stay up. That's the priority, and that's what they want Premier League football in a new stadium next season. I think they have enough about them to stay up. I mean, it's come to something in the world where I've got pants that are older than the Premier League manager. Fabian Hers is 31. I've got pairs of pants that are older than him.
Do they still fit you?
No. Tony Bloom is obviously one of the biggest football gamblers in the whole world. He's taken a monumental gamble here with the manager. Everything he touches turns to gold. Tony Bloom, he's the shrewdest cookie in world football, and this could turn out to be a masterstroke if he can pull this off with a 31-year-old manager. I think it's going to take him a bit of time. New faces, new system, new manager. Everton obviously haven't got no signings in, no one at all. They've kept Branthwaite as well, which is a big up plus for them. They lost Onana, lost Godfrey, so new look teams, new systems. I think last season both matches ended in a 1-1 draw, and I'm going to sit on the fence here and go for a draw at plus 245 for my lean.
12:30 Eastern on Saturday, West Ham against Villa. Nigel, West Ham have bought well, new coach, but a lot of new signings. I mean, I've seen you on Twitter. You're quite bullish about West Ham here. I mean, could they break top 6, top 8?
I think they're going to break top half, 10 to 11, minus 110. I think top half is what they're going to do. Very busy season, good players, really, really good. Fulkirk, the striker, brilliant signing. Van Bissaka, I think, will be excellent, but 7-year contracts, that's my concern. Putting them on longer contracts, I think that's a big problem. Kilman, brilliant player, really good. Somerville, again, since he sung in Bronski Beat, went to Leeds, done all right, and now he's playing for.
Is he a bit of a small town boy?
He's a small town boy, so I don't really like London, but I do think that West Ham will have a good season. I think it's going to take a bit of time. This is quite strange because every last couple of seasons, West Ham have had European football to worry about. No European football to worry about. Their season started slow. This time it's Villa who've got the European football to worry about. Champions League matches, qualification to worry about, and that's going to be a hindrance to their season. Again, last year 1-1, the year before 1-1. Villa no wins against West Ham since 2011. On the fence, draw plus 275. Quite surprised they draw such a big price here, plus 275.
Yeah, I'd quite like Villa in this one. I'm surprised at the price, top 4 last season. Jack, what you got?
Yeah, I when these fixtures came out, I was thinking, because I liked West Ham. I'm bullish on West Ham's efforts this season with no European football to worry about. And I thought, we'd get a good price here, West Ham v Villa, and have favourites. So that's scuppered that idea. But what I'm going for over 1.5 West Ham goals. Can't really call the result in this one, but I do fancy the striking talent they've got now. First game of the season at London Stadium. I'm taking them to get over 1.5 goals, which is minus 117.
All these Roundup games leans, just to remind everybody, and one final lean to look at before we wrap things up. Monday Night Football, Leicester versus Tottenham. Leicester plus 440, Spurs a minus 182, the draw plus 350, over and under is 3.5 goals at plus 128, over minus 162, under at the time of recording. Nigel, Spurs, brilliant at the start of the season. People were talking title contenders. They were top of the table after 10 games. They started brilliantly. Will they start well again? What's your lean for the Monday night game?
I think they'll start well. I think this will be a really entertaining watch. I think they have a good season, Tottenham. They would be my pick to break into the top 4. I think Postecoglou is a brilliant manager, second season in the Premier League. Good signing. Solanke now with Son is what a typical player what they need. Being the entertainers, 11 Tottenham matches on the road last season. Both teams have scored, 14 of their road matches over 2.5 goals. No value on those lines though. Bet Rivers have got them very, very short in the betting. For me though, I'm going to go back to the tried and tested. I mean, everyone's going crazy about Solanke, but we still Son. I mean, he missed a lot of the season with the Asian Cup last year and still almost broke into the top 4 in the top Premier League goal scorer. He was the top Premier League goal scorer a couple of years ago. This is a game that screams goals, and Son is plus 130 to score at any time. I can see Tottenham scoring at least 3 goals in this match. It's that kind of game, 4-2, 3-2, something like that. And Son on penalties, everyone's looked at Solanke but forgotten about the captain. So Son to score any time, plus 130.
Similar-ish from you, Jack, to wrap things up.
Yeah, nearly made the cut for me, this one. -1, Spurs Asian handicap, -113. Then came close to coming into the selections for me. So obviously a win by 1 goal and it's a push, 2 or more for the full win. For all the same reasons, Spurs really sharp, some good signings. And that second season under Ange as well. And also a lot of their top players weren't involved in any of the international football over the summer, so we'll come back fresh and revitalised. And we saw how red hot they started the season last season. We can see the same thing here against the Leicester side that I think are there for the taking.
Let's hope so, because the boys are sweet on Spurs for that Monday night game. Nigel, Jack, thanks for your company. Good luck to one and all. We'll keep everyone updated via our Twitter feeds, of course. That is a wrap for Betting Weekly Premier League show. We'll be back next week for picks, plays, hot dogs, same game parlays. Follow us on that because we win. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember, daily shows throughout the week at 11 a.m. Eastern. From all of us for now, though, it's goodbye.